I still remember the sound of the wind that evening, the way it moved through the empty street as if it were whispering secrets to anyone willing to listen. That night, I wasn't trying to escape home. I wasn't trying to run from my responsibilities. I was simply trying to run from myself, my thoughts, my memories, and the weight pressing on my chest for months. I walked until the streetlights began to blur behind me, until the world felt quiet enough for my heart to finally breathe. I sat on an old wooden bench in a small park where hardly anyone came at night. It felt safe, hidden, untouched by the noise of life. And then, he appeared. A young man, maybe in his early 20s, walked slowly toward the bench. His shoulders looked tired, as if he were carrying a world too heavy for him. His eyes had a softness to them, the kind that only people who've experienced pain but still choose kindness possess. Without asking, he sat down, not too close, just enough for me to feel a human presence again. He looked at me briefly and asked in a voice so gentle it surprised me. "Rough night." I don't know why, but the honesty that I couldn't share with anyone else flowed out of me in a single nod. Sometimes, it's easier to open up to strangers. Especially the ones who look like they would understand without judging. He didn't pry. He didn't stare. He just sat there silently, respecting my space, letting me exist without expectations. For the first time in months, I felt seen, not for my mistakes, not for my failures, but simply as a human being who was hurting but still trying. The air between us became softer. The silence felt comforting, and in that small shared moment, something shifted in me, something I didn't recognize yet, but something important. Ellipsis. And that's how I met him, the young man who would become the center of a night I would never forget. Scene 2, Hearts that needed somewhere to break. Narration mode, deeper, more emotional. We started talking, not the kind of forced small talk you give strangers. It was real, raw, unplanned. He told me his name. I'll keep it hidden, because some people enter your life as a lesson, not a name you repeat. He said he came to the park often, especially when life felt too loud. He said peaceful nights helped him think straight, helped him feel like he belonged somewhere. We walked together, slowly. Two shadows side by side under the dim streetlights, moving as if the world around us didn't exist. He spoke about his dreams, not the kind found in fairy tales, but the quiet dreams that live inside soft hearts. He wanted stability. He wanted peace. He wanted to prove to himself that he was worth something. "I feel like I disappoint everyone," he whispered at one point. The pain behind that sentence hit me harder than I expected. Because I felt the same. I told him about my loneliness, the kind that doesn't come from being alone, but from being surrounded by people who see you but don't understand your silence. I spoke about the pressure to be okay, to smile when my heart felt heavy, to pretend I was fine when I was crumbling inside. We didn't know each other. But we understood each other. And that was enough. There was no intention of anything more. No plan. No desire for drama or romance. Just two tired hearts sharing truths they never dared to say out loud, finding comfort in the presence of someone who wasn't expecting anything from them. That night wasn't about attraction or desire. It was about escape, from everything we couldn't face alone. And sometimes, escape feels like love, even when it isn't. Scene 3, the moment that changed everything. Narration mode, slow, quiet, reflective. By the time we realized how far we had walked, the streets around us were silent, washed in the pale glow of moonlight. I don't know what made me say it, but I told him he could come over for tea. Nothing more, nothing less. He hesitated at first. He wasn't the type of young man who rushed into things. But maybe he felt the same pull I felt, the comfort in not having to pretend for once. My home felt warmer with him inside. Not because of who he was, but because of who I became when someone finally listened without judgment. We sat on opposite sides of the room at first. He looked around with polite eyes, never intruding, never assuming. "You don't have to talk," he said softly. "We can just sit. Silence is okay with me." That sentence broke something inside me, not in a painful way, but in the way a dam breaks and lets the water flow freely. To have someone who didn't demand, didn't pressure, didn't try to fix me, it was rare. We moved closer, not intentionally, just naturally. It wasn't passion, it wasn't desire, it was vulnerability, two humans desperately wanting to feel less alone, even for a moment. He looked at me, not at my face, not at my body, but into my emotions. He saw the fear, he saw the exhaustion, he saw the loneliness I had carried like armor. And he said something I will never forget. "We're both hurting, maybe that's why we found each other tonight. His voice wasn't bold, it wasn't seductive, it was honest, painfully honest. And honesty can be more intimate than touch. We didn't cross any lines. We didn't create stories we couldn't handle. We simply held on to the only thing that made sense in that moment. Comfort, not love, not romance, just comfort, the pure, temporary kind that heals in the moment even if it can't last forever. Scene 4, the morning after truth. Narration mode, calm, bittersweet. Morning has a cruel way of showing truth. The sun entered my room softly, washing away the quiet warmth of the night. He sat at the edge of the bed, fully awake, fully aware, fully thoughtful. His posture wasn't tense, his eyes weren't regretful, but there was a heaviness, the weight of reality returning. He spoke first. I don't want to be a mistake in your life. The sentence felt like a delicate knife. Not painful, just sharp with honesty. I took a deep breath and told him the truth I owed to him, and to myself. Last night wasn't a mistake. But it can't become something we use to fill our emptiness. He nodded slowly, looking down at his hands. We needed each other last night, I continued, but that doesn't mean we should hold on to something that was never meant to grow. He looked up then, eyes soft, eyes brave, eyes accepting. There were no tears, no dramatic heartbreak, just two people acknowledging that sometimes the deepest connections are temporary. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go before attachment turns into pain. Scene 5, a goodbye that healed. Narration mode, cinematic, soft emotional ending. He stood at the doorway, ready to leave. The moment felt heavier than the night we shared. He didn't try to stay. He didn't try to convince me otherwise. He understood, maybe better than I did, that our connection was meant to be a moment, not a story. Thank you, he said quietly. For listening, for being kind, for letting me feel human, even if only for a night. I smiled, a small, sad, grateful smile. Take care of yourself, I whispered. You deserve peace, more than you know. He stepped outside. He walked slowly, as if leaving a chapter he wished he could hold on to but knew he shouldn't. He turned back once, just once, with a look filled with gratitude, softness, and something unspoken. And then he disappeared down the street. Ellipsis. Some people don't stay in your life. They stay in your memory. In your emotions. In the quiet spaces of your heart that you never knew existed. That night taught me something priceless. Even brief connections can change you. Even strangers can heal you. And even moments that don't last can leave a lifelong echo. The young man didn't stay. But the lesson did, and that is why I call it